Hey guys, this is Cam Wisdom, and today I think we're going to try to do something different. I think I want to start a new series called Character Analysis. What it pretty much is a character analysis of whichever superhero, supervillain. I might do anime characters as well. And today we're going to do Spider-Man. So let's get into that. When you look into the earlier comics of Spider-Man, yes, he did have his quips and was a little bit of a jokester, but there's a lot of emotional depth to the character, which a lot of people do not see with Spider-Man, or a lot of people who just come in and maybe read a comic or so don't understand the emotional depth level of the character. They think he's kind of Deadpoolish, but the difference between Spider-Man and Deadpool is when you read a Spider-Man comic, you really want to get the emotional aspect of it as well. You don't really go in and like he needs to have quips and be joking. The Daredevil comic, it's going to be weird if he's not joking. And that's not to say he doesn't have emotional, story arcs or emotional time periods of that character. But when you go to Daredevil, you're looking for him to be funny and action-packed type of comic. For Spider-Man, it doesn't have to be that. In the earlier comics, you got a lot of, let's say, serious moments. You see him struggling with money. You see him struggling with school, his social life. You do see some joking aspects of him, but it's not really the end-all be-all of it. You just get maybe a taste in there, maybe a joke here and there, but later on he becomes more of the joking type of character. Right now, you're trying to get into him and into his life and get to know him a little bit better. Now, of course, later on, when other writers began to take control of the character, his joking became a lot more part of his comics. It became a mainstay. It wasn't as big of a mainstay, like I said, a joke here and there in the earlier ones, but later on, he really becomes that jokester that when he first started out. What makes Spider-Man so damn relatable is that anybody can understand what he's going through. He's dropped out of school, he's been broke, he's had really, really big financial problems, and like I said as well, social problems with him hiding his identity, him having to go out at night, him trying to have a job, him trying to do both things, trying to support him and his aunt. And he's so damn relatable. A lot of people think Batman is the most relatable character, but the only thing relatable about Batman is he's just human with no powers. That's pretty much all you can relate to him as, unless you're like part of that 1%. If you are part of that 1%, then yeah, you can relate to Batman, but most of us aren't. That's why it's 1%. So Spider-Man, a lot of people can relate to. He's such a relatable character, and you really want to see him succeed. With Batman and other superheroes, it's not as important for them to succeed, at least in their everyday life. You want them to succeed when they're battling a villain here and there, but you really don't care as much about their everyday life. Spider-Man, at least in my opinion, you want to see him win, not just with other villains and other characters he's going up against, but you want him to win in his everyday life, because you have seen the struggle if you have been, reading along and reading that issue by issue, which is why I think a lot of people should go back and see the early struggles of him, because a lot of people will not see that. Even the man has had to have Mary Jane pay for stuff because he could not do it, and he did feel bad about not being able to pay and having to rely on Mary Jane for stuff. But to me, Mary Jane and Peter are really, really a true love story, which is very hard to get down in a comic, but I think they did the best they could with it. It's still a little bit maybe unrealistic because, supermodel girl, but then again, a supermodel who knows that he's Spider-Man, yeah, she might, want to do that. Anyway, let me go to Gwen Stacy before I get into Mary Jane. So Gwen Stacy came along early in Peter Parker's love life, and I think this was a good starting out point for him. Both in college, college love thing going. And yeah, I think that this was the right way to go, was to kill her off as early as they did, so it could set up to more stuff later on. I didn't think Gwen Stacy was, the girl for Peter I didn't think she was the one like Mary Jane was. I'm more of a Mary Jane fan, of course, than a Gwen Stacy fan, just because I've seen more of their struggles than Gwen Stacy, because she got killed off early. And I just never was as interested in Gwen Stacy. I don't know why. She just did not interest me as much, but I don't see as much of the appeal with her. Mary Jane to me is the person who, you argue with, but at the end of the day, she has your back for any decision that you make. She had to deal with a lot of stuff for her to make that decision when Peter Parker is on this rampage because of his Aunt May getting shot. She even makes the sacrifice to lose her daughter, lose the whole relationship because Peter Parker wants his aunt back. And she made a great point when she was saying, Aunt May has lived for so long. Why can't we get our turn? But she was still selfless enough to say, fine, if that's what you really want. And like I said, that's really a true love type of moment, to sacrifice it that much for someone. But anyway, that's enough of the love life. Let's get into some of the other characters that come in for Peter. Spider-Man and Peter, they are very forgiving. As in, they really want their villains to reform. Except for, I would say, maybe Carnage and Green Goblin. I think he was like, okay, they're not going to reform. And to be honest, Green Goblin was not. It's hard to get those business maniac ego type of people to reform because they were successful being that way. So it's kind of hard to get to change that. But what was very interesting to me is in the Carnage phase, like he didn't even attempt. I mean, with Green Goblin, there was moments and times he attempted, but when he saw Carnage, he was like, you know what? No. He is not going to reform. He's like, okay, this guy is sick. I'm just going to put him in jail and have a therapist deal with him, which is very different from how a lot of other heroes would deal with some villains, because a lot of other villains, they really try to get them to change. Even Batman tries to change the Joker. Superman, I don't think, would give up in this situation, but Spider-Man, he stays in his lane here, which is very, very interesting to me, and it shows me that he knows his limits. He knows what he can and can't do when it comes to other villains and stuff. He won't just try to do the impossible, I would say. He will go out of his way and make a sacrifice, of course, but he's not going to do something that is really impossible, and it's just not going to help anybody for him to try to talk to Carnage and try to get him to stop killing. He knows that is not in his realm. Let a therapist deal with it, and that's it. It's like I said, that's very interesting to me. A lot of superheroes would not do that. And like I said, for most of his villains, he does try to attempt to get them to reform. But this one, he's like, no, it's impossible, which I would agree with this. This is way out of his league, which I think Batman and a lot of other superheroes should have stuck to. Let a therapist deal with it, because it's not the way to go. They can't change that. I even remember one issue where he was actually really talking to this other villain, and as Peter Parker, of course, he wasn't talking to him as Spider-Man, but he was really trying to help this villain out, and he really succeeded in helping this villain reform and change and stuff, which to me says a lot, because I think I'm gonna stop talking about Batman after this, because the only reason I'm talking about Batman a little bit more in this video is because a lot of people think that he's relatable. I'm trying to show you why. He's relatable maybe if you're a rich, billionaire kid, but most people, I think Spider-Man's more relatable. But anyway, Batman could do a lot more, I think, outside of his suit. He has billions of dollars. He can do a lot more for the community. Spider-Man can't, and he's doing what he can when he meets these villains to actually try to reform him, and he actually gave this hero a new lease on life in one issue. I definitely recommend it. I'll put the link in the description for the issues and stuff, maybe put some video annotations on each issue and stuff. But yeah, let's get into the final point. Even with one of his great villains, I should say, or villain that's always been there to try and stop Spider-Man, Dr. Octopus, at the end of 700, he believes that Dr. Octopus can turn it around, which is why he does what he does at the end, giving him his memory, showing him everything that's happened to him, so that he can be a Spider-Man that can actually try to do the whole truth and justice, blah blah blah, stuff like that, and it winds up working. So I believe he's really good at reforming his villains and reforming those type of people, those type of characters. He doesn't go out of his way to reform, the crazy psychopath type, but for those that he can understand why they to this villain aspect or why they went down this evil route, he tries to reform that if it's understandable to him. With all this, you see why you want Spider-Man to succeed. Even Peter Parker, you want him to succeed. I won't even say Spider-Man. You really want Peter Parker to succeed. And just see the everyday struggles from him, having to battle villains and then going home beat up, making excuses, doing all this and that, trying to make everybody else happy, trying to have a love life while you have no money. I mean, Spider-Man was about to be homeless in one issue. Nobody was letting him stay at their place, and he was really about to be on the street until he got the job opportunity, and you root for that moment. You don't root for him to just beat a villain. You don't just root for him to be successful as Spider-Man. You want him to succeed as Peter Parker. So when he gets that job, you really are happy for him. You're not like, whatever, we don't really care about this. No, you really kind of care because you've seen him be homeless and struggle with money for so long. And then when he finally achieves that goal, you're actually rooting for him. It's like a great storybook type of ending or a great comeback story. Because he didn't really have it all. He wasn't a hero that was praised. The Spider-Man wasn't even praised in the beginning. The Bugle made him out as a villain, as somebody who just is out to get you. They made him, as a villain. And when he finally succeeds in all this and turns that opinion around, because he wasn't well liked, he wasn't well received as Spider-Man or Peter Parker, but when he finally starts getting success as both, you feel like it was great to be a part of the journey. Anyway, I'm going to bring this video to a close. I'm going to do Magneto next. I'm going to try to do one every day. I'm not going to say that because sometimes it doesn't happen. But yeah, that is it. And see you next time.